Have you noticed my shelves look a little sparse from pulling my books off? Do not perceive. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Maggie, if you don't know me. And today we are taking two of my loves, spirituality and reading, and putting them together, and I'm sharing with you my top 10 favorite spiritual books. So I actually have my Master's of English and I love reading books of all kinds, but when I was getting my master's, I got a little burnt out on reading and I started to lose that love for it, especially with nonfiction books, even if they interested me. But I worked at a crystal shop and we had all of these spiritual magic books and I would buy so many of them because I still loved books. I was just burnt out on something that I loved. So it was a little difficult for me because I kept buying all these spiritual books and I didn't get around to them. But then in 2021, I started watching some booktubers over here just about fiction books, and I started to fall back in love with reading, and now I read about 50 books a year. I'm hoping to up that even more with the years to come because I just love reading, and I was able to fall in love with reading fiction, but also start to read all of these books I had been buying from the crystal shop that were just sitting on my shelves looking real pretty. I also started my journey listening to audiobooks, which I had never done before, and I completely fell in love with, especially for some of those mindset, spiritual, self-help books, because sometimes it's helpful to hear the narrators. It's helpful to hear that said to you in a powerful way, just rather than reading it in your own mind. So I thought I would take the chance today and show you my top 10 favorite spiritual books that I've read so far, and I'm sure this list will be added to and changed, and there's so many books that I've read that I couldn't even put on this list, but I tried to just keep it to my top 10. Maybe I'm missing one, who knows, but let's get into it. So the number one book I would recommend to literally everyone if you're looking to get into oracle, tarot, readings, any of that, even if you are into it a little bit but are just looking to up your craft, expand your craft a little bit. And anyone who knows me knows what this is about to be, and that is the Tarot Bible by Sarah Bartlett. This is my literal Bible. This is my holy grail, my everything. This changed the way that I read tarot. This influenced how I read tarot so much. This is what gave me the confidence and gave me the practice to actually start charging for my tarot readings after using this book for a few years. I love, love, love it. If you want to know more about my tarot journey, I'll link below my podcast episode that I came out with this week, which is just like a beginner's guide to tarot, my personal tarot journey, and I give you all the tips, tricks, blast open those gatekeeping gates, and bust some myths, and just give you all you need to get started or to start to up your craft. But this I recommend to everyone. I have never had someone buy this and be disappointed. It has become one of almost every reader I know who I've recommended it to. It is like their go-to resource. People will use this over the guidebooks that their tarot decks come with. Like, it is amazing. Mine is so like used and old because I use it so much, and it's traveled with me to so many places in my little backpack. So what this book does is it actually gives you like a full layout. So this is paragraphs on just one card, but it also gives you keywords, which I personally really love because then you can start to use your intuition more. So if you pull the King of Wands, your keywords are powerful, bold, inspiring, vitality, dramatic. There's key phrases as well. And so you can start to hone your craft using your intuition a little bit more rather than just reading paragraphs about what it means. And then if you still are not quite getting it, you have the deeper resource there. It is fantastic just for reading cards, but then one of my favorite things in this book is the spreads. So it has so many spreads in this book. I think there's 30 different layouts, which is more than you need. And I actually have sticky notes here that have been in there for years. I don't know how they're still stuck in there. I think they're glued to the pages at this point. And what I used to do when I was learning is I would pass this to someone who wanted a reading, and I would say, pick a spread, and they could go through and just look at what they really wanted, what they really needed, what spoke to them, rather than having them need to come up with a question themselves. Some of the favorite ones is, where do we go from here? Or love test, or who am I now and where am I going? And those pages always fall open really easy, but it is just everything you need out of a tarot resource, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. I could not sing enough praise for this book. The next book I want to recommend is Angel Numbers by Kyle Gray. A fantastic resource once again. This is less a sit down and read book that you're going to say, oh yeah, check off, I've read a book, and more of just a resource that you're going to go to over and over and over again. It has every number under the sun on a digital clock or a 3-digit number that you could see out in the wild, and it tells you what it means. You always need to take it, I think, with a grain of salt, depending on your beliefs. There's a lot of talk about, you know, angels, obviously, because they are angel numbers, but, you know, God and Jesus and very biblical figures. And I'm not very religious myself, so I kind of paraphrase that to my own beliefs. Maybe I say universe or a loving energy or whatever. I kind of paraphrase it for myself, but there is literally every number that you would need, and it lists it out here with what that number collectively means. It goes all the way from 0 to 999. And then it also gives you like the digital messages that you might see on like a digital clock. So 1111 or 0505 or 555 and things like that. It is just a beautiful resource. Obviously, with angel numbers, it's important to figure out what they mean individually to you, but this collective meaning can really help as like a jumping off point, as a starting to open that communication and understand. Every time I post this on my stories, so many people want to know what it's all about. It is extremely affordable. I think it's $13 US, and get it. If you don't own it already, I think this is like a must when you're on your spiritual journey. The next book, once again, I mean, they're all my favorites, so I'm just going to be singing all their praises. But I have Luna by Tamara Dreizan. I think that's how you say her name. This one, I think there's like a few things that I may disagree with in here, but overall, it's just an astounding resource. Once again, it's also just a great read. It's amazing to keep. As you see, I have some little sticky notes. Many have fallen out, but it's amazing as a resource, but it also just has so much information in there as well. It talks about manifestation and the moon, crystals and the moon, magic and witchcraft and the moon, the different moon phases, zodiac and the moon. It really breaks everything down. One of the favorite things that I use it for is working with the moon in different zodiac signs and different phases. That's what a lot of these little sticky notes are. So it goes through like the different phases of the moon, and it really breaks them down for you. But this is my favorite part about it, which is it says what to do and what the energy is like when the moon is in Scorpio, just in general. And then it also breaks down the new moon in Scorpio, full moon in Scorpio. It tells you what planets it also is kind of affected by. It tells you the element and crystals. It gives you journal prompts. It gives you key terms. It's just an amazing resource if you want to start working with the moon. This really kicked off the journey for me, and I know it looks so old and tattered, but it's just because I've brought it to so many places. I think I got caught in the rain with it once, and that's why it looks really, you know, the way it does. But this only came out in 2020. It's a very new book, but it has so much wisdom. It looks beautiful, and I would recommend it to anyone. Again, this one I would give definitely a 10 out of 10. This next one's kind of a double recommendation, and honestly, even though I don't have them, just because I love these two books so much, I would recommend anything by this author. And this is the Illustrated Herbarary and the Illustrated Crystallary by Maia. These are aesthetically the most stunning books I've ever seen. Let me show you. Like, are you kidding? Are you seeing that? Let me show you some of the herbs. I'm so obsessed with it. I actually cannot get enough of this book. So not only are these both stunning books, but they break down 36 crystals and 36 herbs and how you can use them. Each one is going to have a reflection with a bunch of journaling and a ritual that you can do, that you can have the herb or crystal or just to call in the energy of those herbs and crystals. And then on top of that, in the back of each book, you get 36 oracle cards in this little sleeve. I took out the herb ones to show you. So they're kind of little snap ones. Like, they're not crazy, like thick cardstock quality, but it's because they're in the back of the book and you're getting a deck and a full book for the price of a reasonably priced book, especially for how gorgeous it is. But they're beautiful. Beautiful. And they say the page number on the bottom, which I love. I love pulling these in the morning. They're an amazing part of my morning routine that I bring in and out of all the time. I actually haven't done this in a while, and my morning routine's been feeling a little flat, so I think I'm going to start doing it again. I either do the ritual or the journal reflection or both. I use them to create my own rituals for myself and for my ritual group program as well, and honestly, just get them. Just get them. They look stunning on your shelf. You will love flipping through them. They're amazing coffee book table books and they are so useful. Those are ones that I would buy as gifts for people and I would literally tell to everybody. And then my next recommendation is Light is the New Black by Rebecca Campbell. I have her other two books that I haven't got all the way through yet because I like to really take my time with these. I know some people like to sit down and read them in a few days, but I think it's a really beautiful morning or evening practice to help you journal, to help you reflect on yourself and help you grow spiritually. I know I'm going to go back to this one time, so I actually put a little date at the top with when I first went through it, and I left little notes. And I think it's going to be really, really cool to go back on this in 10 years, go back on this in 5 years, do it again and see what I agree with and what I don't. I know what journal it is, so I really think I'm going to reflect. And this is a book I think I will go back to again and again. They have little 1 to 2 to 3 page chapters, and a lot of them have a action step or a journal question at the end. I actually came up with some of my own here that I wrote in, but here's an example of one of the ones with the journal question. So there's literally just a short paragraph and then a journal question at the end. And I really do love this book just because I would only read one a day. I would sit down, I would journal on it in the morning, and by the end I felt like I had gone through a full transformation. I actually started this in Canada and I finished it after I had moved to Europe, and that felt so powerful to realize that all the work I had done had actually happened and brought about around this huge life change. So highly recommend this as just a short read, or if you want to do it like me, it could take you a year or two, but I really would recommend doing that because it impacted me so much and it really helped me stick to my morning routine. It wasn't like I had to figure out, oh, what journaling am I going to do, or what workout am I going to do, what meditation am I going to do. By starting out my morning routine by just pulling out this book, reading a short excerpt, and then journaling on it, it really motivated me to do the rest of my routine. The next ones either were too heavy. There's one on this list I know was like too big and heavy to bring with me from Canada to Denmark, but also some I listened to as audiobooks, so let's get into those. I listened to an audiobook. I think I bought it on Audible, and it's Discover Your Dharma by Sahara Rose. I'll put it right over here. It is very new, very young. The way she speaks is very accessible. It's very relatable, especially to me. Some of these spiritual books get very transcendental and very fancy with their words, and even though I'm used to reading academic stuff, sometimes I just don't want to. And sometimes with spirituality, it's something that I love and I don't always want to have to think my way into it. I want an easy explanation. That's something that I really try and do myself on my podcast for my clients, is just understand something in a very easy and accessible way for everyone, and a way that almost everyone can understand. Because spirituality and these terms and these practices don't need to be complicated, they don't need to be difficult, they don't need to be confusing. And that's why I really loved Sahara Rose's book, and it's because she talks about Ayurveda and all of those complex and ancient rituals and beliefs and practices, and makes it feel totally accessible and so easy to wrap your mind around. So once again, a 10 out of 10 book, 5 stars. If you're looking to dip your toe into Ayurveda and Ayurvedic practices and energetic practices and working with the elements and the energy of your body, 100% give this a listen. I'm sure I would have enjoyed it in a physical book, but Sahara narrated it herself and she was a fantastic narrator. I really, really loved listening to it in audiobook form. And once again, go give it a listen. The next one I read very early on in my spiritual and self-development journey, and this one's a little more manifestation, money mindset, self-development, more than like super spiritual, but I couldn't make this list without it because it had such a deep impact on my life to realize how to manifest and how to manifest money in abundance. And this book is You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. This one I took my time with. I listened to it as an audiobook. I would clean my house and listen to it, and then I would take cleaning breaks and I would do the journal prompts. So A, I loved it because it helped me clean my house, and B, I would just have a little, okay, time to take a cleaning break, and I would get excited and look forward to the journaling. And after I read this book, I think I manifested, it was like $1,000, $2,000 on top of my normal salary from my job. At this point, I wasn't a coach, I wasn't doing my tarot readings. I manifested a couple $1,000s in like a few days or a week, and my mind was blown, being like, wow. It was a mix of like, yes, actual money, but also like free products and free things and refunds and all of this crazy stuff. And it really just helped me to up my vibration when it came to manifesting money and what I believed I could do also as a career. I would recommend this to you if you haven't done a lot around money manifestation, but even if you have, I think it could be a really helpful refresher or a really amazing thing to reflect on. And who knows, let me know if you also manifest a bunch of money from it as well. Number 8 is one that you've probably heard time and time again, but it's The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. I actually have her deck, The Universe Has Your Back. It's right here. And those are just affirmation cards. I love pulling them with my moon spreads. I love pulling them with manifestation spreads just to give it a little oomph, a little reminder, something I can practically use moving forward. But this is just one that I did listen to much further on in my manifesting journey, so I felt like it was a refresher. I felt like if I had read it at the very beginning of my manifesting and spiritual journey, it would have absolutely blown my mind. But I did read it and I felt like I did already know a lot of things in there. However, I loved it as a refresher, and I think that if you're just getting into this world, it could be something that really changes the way that you view your reality and you view magic and the way that energy works. So especially if you are a beginner, please go check that book out. Number 9 is a very quick, a very short read. It's The Little Book of Witchcraft by Kitty Goulsborough. It's a cute little book. I think that the cover may have changed, and there's also, I think, 2 other Little Book of Witchcraft or Little Book of Witchery or something. I don't know. There's a few other ones, but this one is by Kitty Goulsborough, and it has everything you need. It talks about candle magic, tarot, color therapy. I think there's some kitchen magic in it if I remember correctly. I read it a few years ago, but I think it's a really well written way to explain the way that a lot of energy work, witchcraft, and this spiritual work actually works. I love the chapter about crystals and explaining how the energy of crystals can affect you, because I think it's something that's a difficult thing to wrap your mind around. Some people are just like, yeah, I don't know how, but I'm on board. And then other people are like, how can a rock change your energy? And I understand that, and I think this is a great way to be able to explain that. I lent it out to like 5 friends after I read it, and then so many of them loved it so much they went and bought it for themselves. So it's just a perfect little quick read and quick resource to wrap your mind about the beginnings of spirituality and witchcraft. I know it says witchcraft in the title, but it's also just spiritual concepts like crystals and tarot and all of that. I think we have to realize that a lot of spirituality does have its roots in witchcraft and Wicca practices and paganism, but you don't have to define yourself as that as long as you don't discriminate those groups. I think lowly about people who practice paganism or witchcraft or Wicca, because what a lot of us are doing with mindfulness and spirituality has its roots and its beginning in those practices and religions. And then finally, this gorgeous book, Astrology of You and Me by Gary Goldschneider. First of all, it's a stunning book. Like, it looks so beautiful on your coffee table. And I know that may be materialistic to say, but it is literally the book that I always had on my coffee table, whether or not I was reading it when I lived in Canada. I didn't bring it with me because this is a big book. It is thick and it's like a big square. It's a giant book, but it has so much information, amazing for synastry astrology, and also just understanding how different people will work when it comes to astrology. So it talks about children, it talks about parents, it talks about siblings, it talks about other family members, it talks about friends, colleagues, co-workers, teachers, boss, employee, any sort of relationship that you could have with a person is in this book. And it talks about how to interact with them, how different signs interact with each other. And it's just so illuminating for yourself and to realize how others are thinking and functioning. I would so recommend it. Put it on your coffee tables because it looks gorgeous. I had like this bowl of little howlite spheres beside this book, and I was like, oh, home decor queen, who are you? But it is so filled with knowledge and it is just gorgeous. So go check it out for yourself. Those are all my recommendations. I hope you enjoyed them. I had such a fun time putting this list together. I'm hoping to do more things with spiritual books because, like I said, I think it really marries 2 passions of mine, and I also just am so inspired by BookTube. And even though I don't intend to be a BookTube account, it's more of a spiritual and witchy account. I love to work reading and books into my channel however I can. So if you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give it a like. I'm also thinking of doing a reading vlog to pick a couple of books to read and take you along, give you my thoughts, whether I like them, whether I don't, so you know what books to look out to get and what books to look out for and avoid. I actually just started one the other day, so that'll be up on my channel soon. So if you want to see more videos like that, let me know below. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. Leave some little like book and like worm emojis, the little like caterpillar, like a little bookworm emojis below to let me know that you made it all the way to the end. And let me know if you have any spiritual book recommendations. I would love to hear them, but until then, I will see you next time. Bye!